What up? So I'm going to do an update on the truck, on the 90 Dodge Club Cab. This is the truck that we had bought for, well actually we helped get for our son. It's his first truck, his first vehicle that he's owned. So we picked it up. The engine wouldn't start. Had a no spark issue. So of course, we couldn't get it running. We went and looked at it. So we had AAA haul it for us, and that was pretty nice. We didn't have to pay a tow bill. So let me go back here. So before I show you what's up with it and what we've done so far, I just want to say that a few things have happened since my last video. I attempted to do an update on it a couple times, but I really didn't have anything concrete, and still waiting on the computer. I sent the computer out, and it went found a company on eBay who work on these computers and do diagnostic and all that. So we sent it to them. It took a couple weeks before they were able to get it on the bench, and ran tests on it. Ran it for 24 hours. Tested fine. So that's not our issue. Kind of bummed. But on the bright side, we can't find them. So that's a blessing, I guess. We just have to keep searching, find out what else would cause it not to spark. So in the meantime, we did tell the company to go ahead and do oh, that's annoying. So we did tell the company to go ahead and do preventative maintenance on it, which basically means they go through and replace capacitors, because electrolytic capacitors have a certain lifespan, and even though we could have saved ourselves $100, it really made sense to have it done, so that way, because I'd hate to get it back, get it in the truck, have it running, he'd go to his base, and then all of a sudden the computer craps out because a cap blew or something to that effect. And also, when electrolytic capacitors blow, sometimes they screw up the circuit board. So we went ahead and told them to do that. It's going to take an extra day or two to have that done and have it shipped back to us. So that's where we're at with that. The wiring harness under the hood, so that comes from the bulk connector and goes to the computer, goes all the sensors, goes to the engine harness, which goes to the sensors, sorry. But anyways, goes to all the relays and headlight harness, all that. So took that out, unwrapped the whole thing, tested every wire. There was no shorts. A lot of people said, what is it called? Fusible links. Check the fusible links, they go bad. Did that. I understand. I've had my first go around with a classic Dodge 20 years ago. I had a fusible link go out. So I understand what they are, how they work, and the problematic situation with them. But they're all good. So I'm not going to spend $100 to delete, do this fancy delete that everybody's doing on YouTube to delete the fusible links. They're easy enough to check and figure out if they're bad or not. So I went through the whole harness. All that's good. There's 60 pins on that connector that goes to the computer. Checked every single one, and they're all good. So what's next? Well, I should correct myself. my previous self, the video I made before. I was talking about the different sensors, the shutdown, or sorry, relays, talking about the auto shutdown relay and this and that and the other. And I did call that first box there that was on the driver's side fender, inner fender, a voltage regulator. Now, if you caught that, you probably know, and you're probably like, this idiot doesn't know what he's talking about. But to not make excuses for myself, I had a lot going through my mind. It was difficult to make a video and be 100% accurate on everything without going through and doing a bunch of editing, which I didn't want to do. So I'm just correcting it now. It was not a voltage regulator, it was a starter relay, and I should have known that because they're all kind of shaped the same, even all the way back into the 70s, 60s, late 60s, whatever. So anyways, boo-boo on that. But alright, so let's get back to what transpired over the last 2 or 3 days. So, scratching my head, thinking what else could it be. If the computer's good, then I start replacing sensors or what, you know. And this is an OBD1 truck, so it doesn't have we don't have the advantage of having OBD2. There's not very many OBD1 compatible scanners out there. Everybody just kind of, I don't know, threw them on the shelf, threw them away, whatever. And in order to get a new one, you're going to be spending a new scanner that does OBD1 and 2, you're going to be spending $300, $400, I don't know, a lot of money. And the problem with OBD1 is each manufacturer had their own unique connector and such. And I understand you can do the key thing, you know, and with GM you can do the paperclip thing. I get that. But coming from our world, current 2024 knowledge, OBD2, you can get in there and see everything. Well, and talk to computer, or not really talk, but you know what I'm saying. OBD1, from my understanding, is very, very, very basic, analog-ish. Like, it's just like the testing device that Chrysler had, DBR2, something like that. Very basic. Can't run the kind of tests that you can on. Anyways, I'm getting in the weeds with this. Bottom line, I'm not spending the money on an OBD1 scanner. So we're stuck with the codes that come out on the dash, and right now there's none. So that's unfortunate. You know, in order for it to kick out codes, it has to run, and it's not running. So rather than go through the whole process and painstakingly fire the parts cannon at this thing, like, let's get back to the basics. All right, when we first got the truck, I did a compression test on number 1 and I think number 4 on the other side. Great, like 175, 180 psi, something like that, maybe 185, I don't know, something like that. Good compression. So, like, well, that's not it. Dummy. I should have checked them all. And actually, it was just a quick and dirty. I didn't do it the proper way, where, you know, you pull all the plugs, open up your carburetor or your throttle body, you know. So this time I did, and I had my son here, so I was showing him the proper way to do it. Pull all the plugs out, started off on the number 1 side, or on the driver's side, so it's 1 through 7 on the driver's side. Started to do compression test on number 1, and I ate a bunch of coolant. Like, it just came from the number 7 cylinder, and just went in my eye, went in my ear, went in my mouth, up my nose. Like, he thought it was hilarious, and I'm like, it's not hilarious. That's not a good sign, and I'm pissed. So anyways, With that being said, it's like, okay, we got something serious here. We might need a new engine, so kind of planned to take the head off, and then it's like, I just want to pull this engine because it was just a greasy mess, and that's not a real reason to pull an engine. But the more I looked at it and was looking it over, like it had core plugs that were leaking, and like how am I gonna really get in and inspect the cylinder walls? Because the piston only goes down that far, and you got the bottom of the cylinder could be cracked, all this stuff. So I was like, screw it, we're pulling this engine. And that's what happened. So you'll see that the harness is gone. We pulled that. That was one of the first things we did. Computer's gone. We're waiting on that. And the engine's out. So looks like there's a lot more space in here now. And that there is a 4-speed, what would you say, 46 RH, something like that. 518, 46 RH. The 4-speed torque flight, basically. So we yanked the engine out. Took about 8 hours. I was doing most of the work because my son, he doesn't know really what to do, and it's not his fault. To be totally upfront, he's my wife's son, and so he lived with us for like 3 years. So I haven't had him my whole life. If I had, he'd know this stuff. He could do this stuff on his own, but trying to cram as much knowledge into his head as I can in 2 years. It's a lot. That's a big ask. So, and he's learned a lot since he's been here. Before, he didn't even know, how to change a tire. So he's getting there. So don't rag on him. Don't rag on me too much. All right. So anyways, getting back to the truck, we pulled the engine, and let's go back here. We got some of the stuff here in the bed, the stuff that doesn't matter if it gets wet or not. And we come into here to the engine hoard, and we got a cylinder head down there. So I just pulled the offending head off for now to actually see what was going on, and inspected the cylinder. So it doesn't look like the cylinder is cracked. Doesn't look like the block is cracked. Again, this needs to be taken apart and fully inspected, but from first glance, it seems like we found our culprit. We have a blown head gasket. See the fire ring destroyed, and also it looks like the number 1 side was getting ready to go also. So if you didn't know, a 90 318 is a roller cam. So we got this. The thing I was struggling with, because it's like, yeah, that's a superior LA engine. That's like the best LA engine, in my opinion, because you get a roller cam for free, basically, as long as it's good. And it's like the best of the last of the LAs. And then I was thinking, well, we can go Magnum, but it's like, man, if we go Magnum and the heads are cracked, like then we're looking at heads, then we're looking at intake, and then like at that point when we do go aftermarket fuel injection, we go carburetors, like then just the money started getting to me, and I'm like, oh god. So So when we got to this point, I was like kind of relieved. Like, all right, so now this is manageable. We can work with this. Also, some bad news. Somebody didn't do oil changes like they should. You know, this kind of almost. It's almost like reminds me of the 440 that came out of the Charger. I'm like, but it's still not as bad as that engine was. Like, this is just crusty stuff. It's not like tar. So I'm thinking that here's the plan. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna tear it apart, clean it, prep it like I'm gonna build the engine. But I'm gonna inspect the cylinder walls for taper, because honestly, I don't feel any ring ridge, like very little. Like, I can't even, you know, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. So if the bearings are good and the rings are good, the only one I'm really concerned with is that number 7 cylinder, that maybe the rings are rusted to the piston, or, you know, whatever, that they're stuck. Don't know how long this thing sat with water in it, so I'm really hoping the bottom end is fine. And yeah, but if the rings were good, or are good, then that means that, but the problem is, I'm getting ahead of myself. The problem is coolant instantly went into the oiling system, and that's why I was thinking cracked block, cracked head. So I'm not ruling that out completely. It's still a possibility, but I'm hoping that the cylinder, or the head gasket, is the culprit, and that's all that was wrong with it, other than the lack of maintenance on this thing. So I'm going to tear it down and see what we got. We went through 2 cans of gunk, the gel gunk. Had the kids and the wife out there, just brushing the whole outside of the engine, the intake, everything, to get all the crap off, because it was gnarly. It was pretty bad. It must have had a valve cover leak since like 1995 or something. Like, it was well coated in oil. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, I'm gonna completely disassemble. Can't friggin' talk, and I've had 3 cups of coffee. So I'm gonna completely disassemble this thing, clean it up, inspect it, try to keep everything organized. You know, make sure the lifters. I'll absolutely make sure the lifters go back in the right place, and that sort of thing. Go over the heads, you know, probably disassemble the heads, make sure that, you know, the guides are good and the seats are good. But I don't plan on sending this to the machine shop. So, knock on wood, we don't have to do that. So yeah, this is where we're at. This is how far we've gotten, and this is what we've discovered so far. Would this cause a no spark issue? No, I don't think so. But it's a step in the right direction, and this is definitely something that has to be addressed. And regardless of where we go in the future, if we end up converting this to carburetor and electronic ignition, or we end up putting an aftermarket EFI on it, whatever the case is, the engine has to be sound. Otherwise, you're just wasting your money and your time. So that's, again, I'm saying that's where we're at. But this is where we're at. This is where we're at. and hopefully it's going to look something like that, minus the timing cover. Yes, I do plan on replacing the timing set if it's not good. I understand how these small blocks have their little quirks, and they're a little bit different than big blocks as far as things you need to consider and concern yourself with, I should say. Yeah, I'm out of I can't talk as it is. I'm out of things to say. I got to get back to work. Thanks for watching. Rockin' Mopar out.